please welcome the star and producer of Hedda, Tessa Thompson, and writer and director, Nia DaCosta. Woo! Hi. Oh my gosh. Woo! Yeah, okay, you can sit right there. Here we go. I had to big you up, I had to do it. I had to.
Thanks so much for that introduction. That was so sweet.
How are you feeling after last night?
I'm pretty tired.
Oh, yeah.
But also,
we also had a party.
Yeah, we had a party. It was such a great party. How do you feel?
I feel great. I'm in such great spirits. I'm very ill, but
Oh, no.
most of my body hurts, but my heart is warm and fuzzy.
Okay, we'll take that. So it does feel like a full circle moment, you being here, because you met 10 years ago at Sundance for Little Woods. And I want to get to the journey that you both have gone on together. But first, I want to start at the beginning. So Tessa, you're from LA, but you said that you never really thought this industry was going to be something you were going to be a part of. So tell me when you first knew that this was something that you wanted to do.
Oh, goodness. I grew up in Los Angeles, but I didn't have any actors or people in the industry in my family. And I don't know, I really loved films. My dad was always a big cinephile, so he'd show me stuff, but I grew up without a TV. I just didn't have any proximity and didn't really understand how people did it. It seemed so foreign to me, but I always really liked storytelling, and I kind of started studying theater, and I think the one thing I feel really lucky, there are many things I like about having grown up in Los Angeles. It's such a weird, interesting place. But because I had just literal proximity, when I started to think, oh, this might be something that I'm interested in, I didn't have to make the pilgrimage from anywhere far. And I just so admire people that do that. It's so brave, frankly. So many people come to LA, wanting to do this thing, and I'm not sure. I think I would have ended up in New York. I don't know that I would have ended up in LA, but because I was so close, I was just frankly very broke, and I was studying classical theater in Los Angeles, and people were like, "Are you okay? Why are you doing that? You should audition for commercials or for a television show, because that's what you do in LA, or that's what people said you should do." And so I started to do that a little bit. And then here I am, I'm very...
And here you are, and we are so grateful.
Also, thank you for being here, everybody. This is tremendous.
This is a good crowd.
I'm like... Yeah. Thank you so much.
Nia, this is a fun fact about you that I really hope is true. Your mom was in a band, and she wrote the Jamaican bobsledding chant from Cool Runnings.
I wish my mom were here right now to have this moment.
And so she exposed you right to this world?
No.
A bit? No?
No.
Not this world, but to theater and performing arts from an early age?
Oh, actually, well, yeah. So my mom was in a reggae girl group called Whirl a Girl. My whole family's Jamaican. I'm a first-generation American. Hey. Yes, ma'am. And my mom, Whirl a Girl, they wrote the theme song for Cool Runnings, Jamaican bobsled chant. But I don't think I was like, I don't know what was going on then. I was just, I more so was in like the music world, because my mom, similar to Tessa's dad, my mom's a musician. I grew up like in record studios, recording studios, and just watched them. But my mom also was away like touring, so it's like I had access to it, and then then my mom was gone, and then she'd be here, and then we'd be talking to Dougie Doug, so yeah. But my mom she's an artist, and so one of my formative experiences is when I was really young, she took my sister and I to this public school that was doing performance art in every room, and there was like a woman doing like a very scary looking tea ceremony, and my mom's like, go, and I was like, I don't want to engage in performance art right now. It's too scary. There's a play going on. There were two dancers. It was really beautiful. So I was always around art and storytelling.
When did you know that it was writing and directing that was your path?
I was always a writer. I was going to be a poet when I was 6. I was going to be a novelist. I was going to be a short story writer. I was going to be like a philosopher. I had a lot of thoughts. And then my parents got divorced. We moved to Harlem, and I basically became a latchkey kid. And we had HBO. And so
That'll do
I
it.
just
That'll
watched
change lives.
so many things I shouldn't have watched, and that I did not understand, but drew me in, and I started to fall in love with what I now know as filmmaking. I started to like love performance. That was my first way in, and then I was like, do I want to be an actor? My mom was the one who said no. She said, the way you talk about this, you want to be a director. You want to write and direct. So she was the one who kind of helped me find my path.
That's beautiful. And both of you, I think it's fitting that you're here with an adaptation of a play because you both, as Tessa, you mentioned, started in theater. So talk to me about how theater laid a foundation from which you built the rest of your careers.
I think it really, for me, it was something that felt, because I always I started in school, so it felt like something that was just very communal. And I think the hardest adjustment when I started working in television and film is that sort of sense of community. Like I remember getting one of my first jobs. It was like an episode of Cold Case, and I was so excited, and I was like suddenly going to be on TV, and I made opening gifts for the beginning of the shoot, and I was just like a guest star, and then I made like closing, like end gifts, and I remember being
that
in
you
the
gave out
parking
to
lot.
everybody?
Well, I tried, but everyone left. I just had these like mixed CDs that I made ready for everyone, and I had like handwritten things. And this episode of Cold Case took place in like the 20s or 30s, so I had like jazz music, and I made like a little.
Adorable.
I made like. I made.
By the way, Tessa gives the best and most elaborate and most copious rap gifts. They're so amazing.
You gave me a really good rap gift on Hedda. You gave me a couple
Yes,
really good
yeah.
ones.
I'm trying to live up to you, babe.
Yeah, she gave me a first folio edition of The Tempest.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
That's a good one.
I love only this kind of crowd. It's like, wow, to a first folio edition of anything Shakespeare. You guys are cool. But I just remember how jarring that it felt, and also just the way sometimes that it can, this is not always the case, but sometimes in television and film, everyone's sort of in their silos doing their thing. And I just come from a very communal experience, which is the theater, where you're around the table and you're talking about the text together, and you're so aware of someone's process, and you sort of break through together, and it feels less ephemeral than it does sometimes in film. And I think that's what felt really nice about this piece in particular. We had a couple weeks to rehearse Hedda, and then we also spent so much time because the whole film is shot in this one house, and it really felt like a company. And I think because I began that way in the theater, I think I just really love working that way. It's partially why, I enjoy making all sorts of films, but particularly on smaller films, it feels like you're sort of in the trenches all together. And I think that early work in my career made me really attracted to that way of working together. And I feel like I'm always sort of searching for that and trying to create that in the things that I'm making and the people I'm making them with.
Yeah, I have a very similar experience. I went to film school first, but then I fell in love with theater when I got my master's in London. And I went to a drama school, but I was studying writing. And I went to a drama school because I wanted to work with actors. Because at Tisch, which is great, you just don't really... There's one class called like directing the actor, but you're directing other directors who are acting. And we were all bad. So you don't really get into like, okay, how does an actor approach text? Like, what are the different ways an actor... could get ready for a scene, and what are the different processes? Like, I just want to learn about their craft, and so I that's when I discovered theater and discovered Ibsen, and was the kernel for wanting to do an adaptation of Hedda Gabler, and I just love how collegiate and collaborative it is. The company of actors thing, it was very intentional, and not just for me, but also the actors wanted to be there for each other. Everyone was on set all the time, even if you weren't being shot, even if you weren't on camera. And because it's a party, people have to be there in the background of shots for all day, not saying a single word. And we just had the best group of people, the best group. A lot of them theater actors. So a lot of our tertiary actors are like we have Jamel Westman, Olivier nominee for originating Hamilton and Hamilton in London. Saffron Hawking, BAFTA nominee, but they were not even secondary characters, they're tertiary characters. So it was just so amazing to have all these amazing people come together and just support each other and have fun making this crazy story.
It's that spirit of collaboration that I think we see with this pairing and then also in your work. But I think that there's, at least for me, it was like a very formative moment, a very important moment, the first time I saw Tessa Thompson on screen. I don't know if anyone else feels the same, remembers the first time we saw Tessa Thompson on screen. And for me, it was in an episode of Grey's Anatomy, actually.
What?
Yeah. Did you not know this?
So to be
It was
honest
a very
with you,
important episode.
I've only seen Tessa like pre meeting her. I think the only thing I saw is like Veronica Mars.
Oh, okay. Also important.
Nia, this will speak to Nia's love of the theater. I feel like I'm the only actor that you cast that you haven't seen in a play. Usually she's like, I've seen her on stage.
No, it's a running joke because I'll be like, yeah, oh yes, I've seen them on the stage. Which is also helpful when you're talking to a producer and they're like, well, what have they done? I'm like, oh no, don't worry, I've seen them on the stage. And and sometimes I haven't. But but no, it was funny. But I eventually did see you on the stage. So
On the stage.
on the stage.
Yeah, so, but I think some people in here, please go watch that Grey's Anatomy episode. It's a big one. But
Were you diseased?
I go to prom.
It's the prom one. Yeah,
I was.
She plays Chief Weber's niece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have ovarian cancer, right?
Yes.
Oh,
I
no,
think.
baby girl.
I don't remember what kind.
I think I have I think I go to prom.
Yes.
At the hospital
Yes.
Oh.
because I'm like
Very
on my way to
important.
prom, and I'm gonna have sex with my boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
Hot.
And then something goes wrong, and then I have to go to the hospital. But you know what they did? They recast me because I couldn't come back. I think my character was supposed to come back to
Oh,
die, but I wasn't
yeah.
available, so someone else plays me.
Someone else died?
Yeah,
That's
someone
so
else
funny.
died for me.
Amazing.
Oh, okay, but I think that for a lot of people in here, maybe the first time they saw you was Dear White People. Dustin Simeon's Dear White People. Here we go. So before we talk about that film, we're going to take a look at a clip of Tessa's character, Samantha White, talking about her relationship with her father and her biracial identity to her love interest, Gabe.
Yes.
What goes through your mind when you're watching that?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it since we premiered at Sundance, however many years ago. So it's yeah. It's that. It's happened. I mean, yeah. I've said mesmerized when I was talking about your performances, and that is another one of those. You mentioned Sundance. The Sundance Institute has given us so much. Specifically, it gave us this partnership. So, Nia, talk to us about meeting at the lab in 2015 and how you came together for Little Woods.
Yeah, so so Sundance Labs, you get to go and workshop for 5 weeks at the Sundance Resort, and you take 4 scenes from your movie, and then you invite actors from anywhere. They come and they donate their time, and it's really amazing. And I knew I had Luke Kirby was going to come, Emmy Rossum was going to come, and I was really struggling to find someone that I really wanted for the character that Tessa eventually plays in the film. And a casting director said, Tessa Thompson's really great. You should really check her out. And I was like, huh, let me go check her out. And then I think I told you this. I went onto YouTube because part of it is like, it's not about like, I'm going to cast them in my movie. It's more about, can they be collaborative and develop and, you know, be creative and play together, essentially. And I found an interview with you and Craig Ferguson, and the whole entire interview was about sandwiches. And Tessa was so curious and so chill and so funny. And I was like, oh, she has the right vibe for this. Like, she's going to be able to just settle in and be like, I'm here for you, you know? And then we met, and it was like instantaneous, I feel like. We were like, oh, okay, cool, boop, boop. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember that. I just had a sandwich on the way here. So this is a big.
What kind?
What kind of sandwich was it?
A BLT.
Oh, okay.
We got
really
good
good.
BLTs here.
Yeah, it was a really
Yeah.
good one.
But can I ask a question?
Sure.
What's up with the bacon here? Because you guys have 2 kinds of bacon, right?
Yeah, we
Okay,
have Canadian
so
bacon.
in a twist, Canadian
meal?
bacon is normal bacon. And then thick cut bacon is like UK bacon.
Huh?
Because I thought Canadian bacon, because you know the bacon that looks like a sort of like oval?
Yeah.
And then there's normal bacon that's in strips and
Yes.
it's crispy? That's Canadian bacon.
No.
What?
No,
The menu at the
switch it.
park
They
diet
switch
is
it.
wrong.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the circly one,
Oh.
right?
Yes.
And
Okay,
it's
so
a lighter
that
shade
makes
of
sense,
pink.
actually. Then.
Okay.
And it's
I'm gonna
not crispy. You don't like it crispy.
No.
Oh, no, it has.
It's
You
called
can't
pea
you
meal.
can't have
bacon.
Canadian
Why is it
bacon
called that?
crispy.
It has pea meal in it, which is what keeps it.
Oh, thank
And
you.
what's the
to this
consensus?
person.
Like, is pea meal you guys all think better?
I feel like We don't
We
eat it
got
on the
one for
regular.
female.
So you like
Yeah.
it's like normal bacon better?
Yeah.
Where is it? Varda. Oh,
Yeah, we're
really?
gonna get you a peanut bacon sandwich.
Okay, I'm gonna have that.
Great.
It's so hard to eat.
We want to take a look at a clip from Littlewoods, though.
That's about bacon.
Great transition. To go from bacon to this clip we're about to watch from Littlewoods. Okay, so it's just happening.
Oh my god.
That of course, playing Ollie's probation officer was the late great Lance Reddick.
It's like, it actually made me really emotional seeing him. He was
Yeah.
so amazing and yeah, he was great.
Yeah. Just gonna give us a moment there for Lance Reddick. I love that movie so much. It's exciting to watch a debut like that, where you're like, oh, Nia DaCosta is here. But it also, you've said, I think that it really showed some of the themes that continue to come up in your work, like telling stories about, which you said, unconventional, interesting women and how their unconventionality makes them dangerous. I love that. So tell us more about that. And when you look back on Littlewoods, how did that kick off that North Star in your work?
Yeah, I think I came to that when I was sort of looking at the things I tended to be interested in. And that in particular, I love that was like the inciting incident, basically like 8 days, stay out of trouble, dun dun dun. And I just feel like, I'm really fascinated by people put into situations that are really tough and really complex, and then they have to do things that maybe are wrong, but reveal the dimensions that they hold, the multitudes that they have, and women in particular Black women, we don't get to see as many dimensional characters, especially not playing leads. And so, thinking about Littlewoods and thinking about Hedda together, it's like that was absolutely something I was fascinated by. Like, Black women behaving badly is something I'm really invested in.
Yes.
Because we always have to be like elegant or noble or strong, and I'm just like, how about tired? How about a little crazy?
A little bit of a mess. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that was actually, I too haven't really seen Littlewoods in a while, and
Is that the beginning of the film? Is that in the beginning?
Yeah. And that's like, you run from that guy, and then the other guy comes to your house, then you go to that guy. Oh, and then there's the montage, and you talk to Lance. I think.
Yes, you're right. So I also think one of the other things that's a through line through your work is female friendship. And I want to know this friendship right here, how much it has meant for both of you over the last decade.
Girl.
Tessa's already crying.
I'll go first. A lot. It's really, yeah. I mean, we met, and within days we were like, "Oh, you're my person," and that's not changed. And it's just really special when you can be in a growthful, beautiful friendship with someone and you can work with them as well, and you can cry on their shoulder, they can cry on yours, and you can be challenged and just have just live life with someone. It's really quite special. Don't do it, girl. I was like racked with sobs last night. So
She was, yeah. I feel like you don't remember this, Nia, but when we met at the labs, and we were they have this little bar called the Owl Bar where everyone goes and hangs out, and you buy these jugs of wine. And at the labs, you have advisors come in, and they're like, Hollywood giants that come in and help you. They advise the directors, they advise the actors, and it'll be like, who did we have that year?
Ed Harris and Brad.
Ed Harris, who terrified me. And then I later worked with him on Westworld, but at the time I was like, oh my God, Ed Harris. And then occasionally Robert Redford will pop into the bar, and it's incredible. And I remember being in a corner with our jug of wine, and it was maybe day 2 or day 3, we were at the labs, and you turned to me, Nia, and you said, when I make this movie, will you make it with me? But I was so struck, you didn't say if, you said when. And it was this kind of determination, like you just knew you were going to do it. And it's so hard to do these things. And it's so hard to make movies sometimes, especially, I mean, we made Little Woods for very little money. And it was really challenging, particularly depending on the kind of stories that you're going to make. But I think that that kind of determination and confidence in what you want to do and vision, at that moment, and you were like, what, 25? Really blew me away, really blew me away. And I realized like it's really requisite, if you want to build something and make something, just that kind of knowing, not because you're so sure of yourself, but because you're so sure that you have something that you just have to say. And you had that on Little Woods, and I feel like you've continued to have that, and it's just such a great privilege and honor to get to be a part of that with you.
Thank you.
You could clap for that. I think the thing, watching you interact and knowing that you have each other as the support system, what makes me emotional is that I know that so many Black women in this industry don't have that, that partner that they can talk to about everything and to champion their stories with them. So it is just really beautiful to just see the work that has come out of this partnership, but to also see that you've been able to lean on each other. When I say June 2020, what comes to mind? I feel like it felt like a fever dream. It was a very,
So much.
right? Devastating, but also maybe a bit hopeful time.
Yeah.
But that is when you released the teaser for Candyman.
Literally in my head, I just went, do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you put that out on Twitter, you described it as being about unwilling martyrs at the intersection of white violence and Black pain. So talk to me about putting out work in the middle of that summer, which was I don't like this term, but the quote unquote racial reckoning, and how it led to the feature.
Yeah. So we shot Candyman in the fall of 2019. We were doing like a couple days of additional photography on like the day that Rita Wilson and Tom Hanks got COVID. And then I
don't know if we all remember exactly.
I remember
that
where
moment.
I was. We were like, Tom?
Yeah, not Tom.
It's
it
Rita.
can happen to anybody.
Literally, it was crazy. We're like, not Rita. And then, so we were finishing the film, and then I think we still thought we were going to release at the end of the year because everyone was so delulu, like, including like Christopher Nolan being like, I'm going to bring people back to the theaters in July of 2020. It's crazy. And Tom Cruise, remember that thing, Tom Cruise, like going to the theater to see Tenet? And we're like, babe, everyone's dead. Like, what do you mean? But in June, I was like, what's happening? So we were also delulu, and we were like, we're going to come out in October. It was like, maybe we'll do Halloween,
He did eventually bring people back to the cinemas, though, Tom.
Baby girl, he does, yeah.
Top Gun
And
Maverick, yeah.
Mr. Nolan as well.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's so true. He knows what he's doing. But yeah, June 2020, I remember tough year emotionally. I remember at the time lived in Fort Greene. We would meet in front of Barclays Center to start the marches, and we could drink outside, so everyone was in Fort Greene Park, like communing and being with each other. A lot of people were in the city, so it actually felt like a home instead of like a tourist destination. And I was finishing this movie when all this was happening, where I was once feeling more connected to my home, also feeling very alien from myself and from the world because of this disease that was rampaging through all of us. And then also, we were marching for our lives. And I thought about this all through making Candyman, but like when you have real pain, real historical trauma, you have to be very careful about how you put that into a, frankly, corporate system. And, art and commerce always has a relationship. Like, it needs to make money, and you need to get money to make it. And when the initial way that they wanted to present that was like, this is for the Candyman. And I was like, whew, listen, we can't do that. Like, we have to be very intentional about how we, like, what words we put with this video. We have to be very intentional about every decision we make in this film, because it's real. It's a horror film, but it's also real what we're talking about, what we're trafficking in. So we are all very mindful for the entire process, but in particular, releasing that in June of that year was always planned, but it ended up being quite special as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember like just a very visceral reaction to it when I saw it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Candyman, but we're going to see a clip. And in this clip, Coleman Domingo, who plays William, discusses the myth of Candyman with local artist Anthony McCoy, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen.
The second, he always says, I'm not my dad.
The second. Whew.
Sorry, shout out to Coleman Domingo.
I know, Coleman Domingo.
Oh my God. By the way, he keeps texting me thinking I'm Nia Long because they just made a movie together. He's like, Nia, are you? He's like, Nia, babe, sorry, I forgot to. I was like, oh, are you in London? He's like, oh, sorry, wrong. I'm like, you have to stop doing this to me. I love him so much. But he was amazing. Those guys were amazing. And the delivery of that, I haven't seen that in a while too. Yeah.
It's so interesting and smart the way that you tackle trauma in Candyman, because even just how Coleman is describing that scene and how we're seeing it, you could have easily shown us the horror of that. It's still horrifying, but it was respectful, I would say, and sensitive to your Black audience watching Candyman. So talk to me more about the intentionality behind that and how you chose to tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, I love horror movies. I love gore. I love violence in films, not in life. And I love body horror. You know, so I'm not shy about like seeing someone's head get ripped off or whatever. I did just make a zombie movie, you know, but we've seen so much in film and in life of Black people being brutalized, and to tell a story about that and what that does to a community and to a person and to a history, it really didn't make any sense to exploit it in that way, to show it in that way. Even the end of the film where Anthony, spoiler alert, gets shot.
Yeah.
We debated, that was always in the original script, but we eventually started debating, should we even have that in the movie? Like, we've seen that a lot, you know? I also, before I made the movie, I was like, I'm never going to have that as a plot point in a film, and alas. But in the end, we were like, well, this is what the movie is about. It's about lynching. It's about what that creates. It's about people who become martyrs when they're just trying to be people who live. And so, yeah, every bit, like when we came around to doing shadow puppetry for the flashbacks, it really helped too with the violence as well.
Yeah, I love that. Just congratulations on Candyman.
Thank you.
4 years later. Yeah, we can clap. 3 years? 4 years.
No, I can't believe it's only been 4 years.
Oh, yeah, 4. So when we talk about genres and challenging how to tell stories in genres, I have to bring up the Creed movies. I know you have a dog named Coltrane. I have a dog named Apollo Creed. Because I love these movies so much. He's 9, so yeah, it was right around the time. Anyway, what I love most, though, is how Bianca really like flipped that sports movie girlfriend character trope on its head. And you were playing this Black woman who wears hearing aids and has a daughter who's a part of the deaf community, and you opened up this whole new conversation about representation and community. But it was in this big franchise, and I mean that speaks to Ryan and Michael and the storytelling, but also to what you brought to it. So can you talk more about how these big genre films that you're doing, how they can be spaces for political commentary and challenging norms?
Yeah, as you said, it had to do with so many of the folks involved. When I initially started to have the conversations with Ryan about playing Bianca, he actually, I feel really lucky because he had seen Dear White People, and then we met at Sundance, actually. He was there at the Mountain, and it was the year, I don't remember the film I was there, but we met at like some really weird party in a cabin. And
this is Ryan Coogler, by the way, the director of Creed.
And he had made Fruitvale Station, which I loved. And so we had one of those chats like you do where I was like, I love your work. And he's like, I really like your work too. And I think we both come from like that sort of, indie movie sensibility. And with Creed, I don't know if everyone knows this, but I just love this story so much. It's obviously is a franchise movie, but Ryan grew up and he had a really big relationship with the original Rocky movies. He was a football player, him and his brothers, and his dad would sit them down to watch scenes from Rocky before they had big games to sort of hype them up. And so he always really loved those films. And as he got older, he started to think about what happens. Like his dad had always been this really strong figure in his life. But your parents go through a phase where they might, not be as strong as they used to be or go through health issues or all those things. And he started to kind of wrestle with like, what does a masculine figure suddenly mean if they're ailed to you? And so it was really personal. That was kind of the meditation, how he started to think about doing something inside of the Rocky franchise. The studio didn't want to remake those movies. There was like no hunger or thirst necessarily. He just had this really personal way in and started to think about Adonis Creed's son in this universe. And so he was able to like finally pitch the movie to Sly. Sly didn't want to make the movie. And he got like 15 minutes with him to pitch the movie, and he pitched the movie, and that's how it happened. But he really had like a personal reason to tell it. And when he conceived of Bianca, the idea was to do like a modern day Adrian. And at the time, he was thinking like, well, maybe she's a single mother. And I remember having conversations with him where I was like, to your similar point, Nia, I was like, I feel like we've seen that before. And Ryan's wife, who's also now his producer and works with him as proximity, Zinzi Kugler, who's an extraordinary producer. She was a sign language interpreter and had proximity to that world. And so we started to have conversations, and he was like, how comfortable would you be? And I have someone close in my family who has hearing loss. And so we started to think about what if that was something that Bianca was dealing with, this progressive hearing loss, because it's something that we hadn't seen before. And I think initially when we had conversations with the studio, there was a weariness about it because the idea is she's supposed to be this sort of love interest, like that's not a kind of love interest that we've seen. And Ryan and I just really knew it would work. But when we initially wanted her to have hearing aids, they just weren't sure about it. And so I just made sure to wear my hair down so that you couldn't see it when we first started to shoot it, because I knew that it would take some weeks to get them comfortable with the idea. But we were sort of like, we're going to do this. And I'm really glad that we were able to just, I think it's always there's always so much collaboration that comes into it. And as Nia says, when you're doing something that exists between like art and commerce, there's a lot of nuanced conversations that I think have to happen inside of those spaces where you're sort of pushing the boundaries of what's been possible previously. But I really think, especially in the context of these very big movies and franchise movies, if it's possible in a way that feels authentic to the story, to do something that feels subversive or do something that feels like it offers a kind of representation that we haven't seen before, in some ways I think it's most important in these kind of films because they have such broad audiences and they reach such fans. I mean, it's been especially fascinating with the Rocky movies because I would say like the people come from all walks of life that are interested in these films now. You know, the fact that Creed is its own franchise now, but came from the Rocky franchise. Yeah. It's just like the amount of people from different walks of life that engage all in this thing. I think it's the thing that I've always really loved about music is it feels like it's so universal, it brings people together. But sometimes I think film, because it's so sort of particular, sometimes you have this thing where there's this assumption that a kind of movie is for a kind of person. You know, sometimes it feels like it can get mired in demographics. And I particularly think at the studio level, that's an assumption sometimes of who this kind of movie might be for.
Yes.
And what I really like to remind people and to remind myself is that when you're making something that just is about humanity, it's for everybody. That we don't have to look like the people that are on screen to feel connected to them, to feel like we are them, to feel like we understand something about them. I think the stories that we tell really help us feel closer, not just to ourselves, but closer to each other. So it's been really great to get to play a character inside of a franchise that ordinarily I think people maybe wouldn't have thought that kind of character should or would exist in this kind of a movie. But I think that's really a testament to Ryan and to the studio for frankly just being, brave enough and interested enough to make something that feels different.
Yeah, that was a beautiful answer. Thank you. I'm very grateful for your work in that collaboration with Ryan. And I think a lot of the things you were just talking about, we can apply them as well to playing Valkyrie in the MCU. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but we are going to watch Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie in this scene where she's talking to Thor, Chris Hemsworth, and Bruce Banner, Mark Ruffalo, about joining forces. I rewatched that the other day, and you're just so funny in it.
Yeah.
Like let's get you more comedy. Okay, so I think that when we talk about the MCU and those big movies, a lot of the time we talk about how creatively stifling it might be to be in something like that. But I want to know the ways in which being a part of Marvel and something like that gives you more fame and money, how maybe it has opened up things for you creatively.
I don't know. For me, it didn't feel stifling at all. It really opened up so many things. I've been curious about making a film like that just because of the technical demands, like working with CGI. Have you guys ever seen the behind the scenes for movies when people are shooting movies like that? And do you know how, doesn't it look so awkward and terrible sometimes? Yeah. Like it just looks, before they add everything in, it just, and I thought, I remember watching one of the King Kong movies that Naomi Watts is in. And she's just extraordinary in this scene. And she's like running through and she's in a little slip. And I think like Kong picks her up and she's like looking at Kong. And I just remember watching it and being I was like getting my braids out. So we were watching all these movies with my friends. And I was like, oh, she's really good in this scene. And nothing is real. She's in some weird little like plastic thing and she's looking at like a tennis ball and I really believed her. And I remember watching that and being like, I don't know if I could do that. And then I was like, I want to know if I can. And that's sort of like the genesis for me. I was like, I really want to do something that has a lot of CG that where you're working on green screens, where it's just a place of pure imagination because it's its own kind of craft. And I really think if you can do that and do it well, it opens up so many other things that you can do. It's just pure imagination. And I learned so much from making those movies, particularly because I got to make them with people that have been making them for a long time, like Chris and Tom Hiddleston, and like seeing their process is amazing. And when we made the first movie, or my first movie, the first Thor, it was before. Now there's this thing called the volume. And so you're basically like, people heard of the Sphere in Las Vegas, where it's like you can explain this better, but basically they project, how does it work?
It's basically like a advanced green screen. It's just like so many LED screens, super high resolution, and you have cameras everywhere, and you basically every single prop, every single costume, everything you digitally you scan basically so that it can exist in that world and in the real world, and then it basically moves with you. It's like a background that you can just exist in. It's really good.
So now when you go to these sets, they're very immersive because a lot of them have the volume, so you're actually seeing Asgard or wherever you're supposed to be, you can see it. But when I made that first Thor, that we didn't. Marvel wasn't working with the volume yet. So you would go on these sets and it would just be like a big green room and you have to, pretend. And for me, it just felt like being a kid, you know? The people that were the best at it were just kids. And then you find all these weird hacks. Like, I remember making that movie, the extraordinary Kate Blanchett is in it. She's the murderous hack. And her like power, she would have to like shoot out stuff with her hands. And I remember I'm watching like Kate Blanchett. I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, oh, this is so weird. Like, what is this? This is so weird. And then someone came up to her and just said, do you want like something to have so you can feel it? And she's like, and they gave her 2 sugar packets. And so she would just like shoot out sugar packets. Or I remember like Tom Hiddleston, if you went into Tom Hiddleston's trailer, he would have like every single set. So you could, and he would memorize them. He would just like really know. So you could be on a green screen and you could be like, Tom, what's over there? And he'd be like, oh, that's where the bridge is. And like he always knew exactly because he had like committed it to his memory so that when he walked in those sets, they were never green to him. So that it was just extraordinary to get to be a part of people's processes. And I think that's the thing that's so cool about this work is you're constantly learning. So for me, it opened up a whole kind of world. You know, I had been very much in the world of just like human stuff, you know, like our little woods, like just people in a room, you know? And now to really, I think post Marvel, to think of real world building and what an incredible gift and pleasure it is to think outside of the confines of, you know, chairs and humans, which I love, but just to be able to build something that is as imaginative as those worlds, I think it's really opened up a different kind of storytelling that I think about, particularly producerially. So I'm so grateful.
And Nia, I'm going to run through some stats real quick because you were the first Black woman director to debut #1 at the box office with Candyman, and then you were the youngest filmmaker to direct a movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the Marvels. We can clap for that. Speaking of opening up new worlds, and you've been called a barrier-breaking director. Oh. But I know that there can be some complicated feelings that come with being the first or breaking barriers and all of that. So what did you feel about all of that when you were in it and you're trying to, you know, create and be imaginative and make a movie, but you're also dealing with all of that?
Oh, I don't go on the internet.
Okay. that helps.
You know, at key moments in life. You know that
Did you stay off the internet this morning?
Yeah, for sure.
Me too.
Yeah, girl, you can't be on the internet like that, and I won't be on it until next June. But what's his name? That rapper who was like, "How can you be cyberbullied? LOL, just turn off the internet." Tyler, the Creator. And like, obviously that's not real because people are cyberbullied, but that's how I feel. I'm like, well, I can't be bullied if I just don't look at anything online. So
yeah, we can clap for that.
So I and also like I didn't know I was the first or the youngest because I also thought it was Ryan. Part of me feels like it is Ryan. Someone counted wrong and everyone just went with it. But but that, I mean, it doesn't mean anything to me. You know, I'd made 2 films before I made the Marvel film, and then the first Black woman. You know, but that says less about me and more about the world I live in and the world I move through. And me being the first Black woman with a #1 again says less about me and more about the industry. And but I was like, I remember having lunch with Gina Prince Bythewood, and I was like, girl, I don't know how that happened, because she's the second one. She got the
yes.
I'm sure she'll have many more, but when you're in that system directing, you don't have time to be thinking about those things, and it's also just not in my nature to be like, what are the people saying about me? Because you're so busy just trying to mount a world that none of your actors can see. But part of what I wanted to do and brought to it was, I was just like, guys, let me build sets. Like, let me have. So we have this amazing space station in my Marvel film, and it was one of my favorite sets. And we also have the volume outside. So that was a cool set. It was such a cool set, and like pretty much everything's in camera. On Carol's ship, again, we built a real set, and then volume outside. Almost everything was in camera. But also, like, every shot in a Marvel movie, they're like, change that. So, like, you know, we're always, like, twiddling with things. But I really wanted to create, like, a real world for them. And my VFX supervisor, Tara DeMarco, was amazing. And we got to with her, I got to learn how to make things the way I want them to look. Because, I watch a movie and I'm like, I don't know how they did that, but I know I don't like it, or I do like it. And I wanted to figure out, how do I get to the things I like? For me, I'm like, I think it's probably practical, mostly practical with some VFX to like help. But yeah, you learn a lot in that world, and that's really what I'm doing. I'm like working and learning, and the rest of it is really, it's kind of just journalism in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think from my side of it and watching it all happen, and I think from the fans, it was maybe frustrating to see some of the stuff online that you maybe weren't seeing. And I think
Never saw.
as Black women, we just wanted to like protect you during that. So I think that is the best protection, that you just weren't looking at some of it.
Yeah.
And so much of it was really positive, like people, no, it was. People like latch onto some of the things. And then of course, when you're a journalist or a fan, you are, again, just wanting to protect you and your work. We're going to get to Hedda. We're going to talk about Hedda right now. We have now come through all of your career and gotten to this moment, which is just so exciting to see both of you come together for this, which I think is both of your best work so far, which is, I think, saying a lot. Talk about, Tessa, you're a producer on this, coming together for Hedda, and I know, Nia, you wrote it a long time ago.
Yeah, I wrote it. I wrote the first draft in 2018. I've been thinking about it since 2012. The way I work is usually I outline for like years, and then I'm like, I'll write the script in a couple weeks. Because my outlines are very specific and very like detailed. And then if any other writers, you get that push and you're like, here it is, we're coming. All right, cool. And you come to the computer. That's sort of the fervor in which I wrote the first draft of Hedda. Always knew Tessa was gonna be my number one ask. I think she knows about all movies before I start writing them. Because I'm like, hi Tessa, I have an idea. And then I made 2 other movies before then. Did some TV before. And then when I was doing the Marvel film, because it was 22 months, was the 10-year when I said yes to the job. And then it turned into 3.5 years. So around year 3, I went to my team and I was like, guys, I have to find myself again. Like we just got to make sure. Because also it's so, that world is so fun. And it's so tempting to just be like, should I just stay in this world, and also it is, you are, again, commerce. It's a lot of commerce. And so I just really felt the draw to also, frankly, something darker, because it is a family film at the end of the day. So I went to my team and I said, I have to make this next. It has to be Hedda. And I'd been tinkering with it kind of on and off. And yeah.
Hedda Gabler is such a fascinating character. And Ibsen's play, I think, is very well known, but there's changes that you made that some of it is spoilers. I don't want to get into too much of it. But can you talk about, and Tessa, weigh in on this as well, taking the source material and then deciding what you were going to change. Also having Tessa be Hedda as a Black woman and different races and different characters. How you approach that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching Brandy's Cinderella when I was 7.
Oh,
and
important.
and I was like, Mom, so this Black woman and this white man have a Filipino child. And tell me more about what's happening. And she's like, oh, it's colorblind casting. I was like, oh, cool, which I loved. I was like, Whoopi was amazing. Victor Garber, fire. Whitney, hello, amazing. But that was my first time hearing about colorblind casting, which I've never done, because I'm more like, well, actually, if you just let someone be Black and have the world actually treat them the way they would treat them if they were Black, the story becomes infinitely more interesting. And it doesn't have to be a movie about race or a movie where we're instructing, frankly, mostly white people about race, It can just be a movie about a person, and their race obviously influences it because that's part of who they are. And that was how I came into Hedda, knowing that Tessa would be my Hedda in an ideal world. I immediately wrote her as Black mixed race. And that became a part of Hedda's struggle. Her father, General Gabler, is white and prominent in society, and her mother is Black, and we never hear about her. Hedda never talks about her, and that's intentional. And so, I just think it's really interesting to let's talk about our experience, all the multiplicity of a black female experience, and you get to do that when you allow the casting to guide you.
Tessa, do you want to weigh in on approaching that text?
Yeah, I really feel what we wanted to do is to make something that is its own, its own animal.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time with the text, and actually we would have a lot of spirited conversations about it.
Yeah.
Because I would try to bring stuff back in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'd be like, what about this little line here?
Some of it went back in. Yeah.
Some of it did, and some of it didn't belong, actually, because I think what we were creating was something new that was influenced hugely, of course, by the source material, but became its own thing. I think what Nia wanted to do is really look at pathways to female agency, and not just through Hedda, through the other women that appear in the film. And then some of just the original architecture went away. I started a production company 4 years ago now, and this happens to be the first release through that company, and I think really marks the first time I've been producing things, but that's become such a real interest for me, and with my producing partner Kishori Rajan, and that was such an interesting process, I think, with you, Nia, because I feel like every time you make something, it's like your baby, and it becomes this sort of fully formed thing with skin, and it can go into the world, and it has like fingernails. But when you're making a movie, you make it again in post, and there are periods where it's like this glob, that's like gooey and doesn't have any features, and it's tough to look at, and it's like, and the process of producing something, you like hold it in all those phases. You don't just get to hold it when it's like fully formed, which is the experience as an actor. Usually you sort of deliver a lump of clay, and then you come to the premiere in a nice frock, and you're like, oh, aren't we cute? But when you produce something, you're like holding it, through all of its phases of growth, and when it's being made. And it's such a gift and a pleasure, and also such a different experience. And so to get to do that on a film like this, which was such a huge, creative, daunting, fantastic, horrifying, electrifying process also as an actor, has been such a tremendous stretch, and it's just been such a great thing to get to do with you, and I couldn't have imagined. I think we both last night were like, what is happening? Because you show it then to a bunch of people, but it is... I think you were talking about this the other day, that one of the reasons why you knew you had to make Hedda is because you wanted again to really feel like you could hold the thing in your hand. And, you don't always get to make that. It's such a privilege to get to make work, but particularly to make work that you feel like you can really hold in your hand it can sometimes be a rarefied thing.
Yeah, especially coming from Marvel. It's also funny because I know Chloe Zhao's here with her first movie since doing a Marvel film, and again it's like, and also Chloe's she's won Oscars, she's established who she is as a filmmaker, and but it's really fun to watch her and talk to her about like going from that to like, oh right, like here we are back to our babies, and it's and that like huge scale filmmaking is really fun, and it's very specific, and I kind of want to keep traversing between smaller things and bigger things, but coming to Hedda, when I came to Hedda, was so special to me, and reuniting with Tessa was really special, and with her as a producer, it was sort of just like formalizing what our creative collaboration is anyway. So it was really great, and really like scary as well, because we made Littlewoods, and then we went off and did our own thing, and we hilariously separately did Marvel, which was fun, and then I'm like, oh my god, like she's serious business. Like, I can't be here like on the first movie where I was like, what's happening? Like, I had to show up, and but it was again like our friendship, like it's like growing and shifting and changing, and it was all really rewarding.
Oh, well, you can see the fruits of that on screen because it is so beautiful. And I truly just wasn't blowing smoke when I said that it was my favorite film that I've seen at the festival. And Hedda is just such this fascinating character. She's messy. I was talking to a friend about her this morning, and she said she'd be an amazing Real Housewife.
Oh my
Right?
gosh. Yes.
Right.
Real Housewives of Kent. Yes. Oh my God. I'm scared.
But I just want talk to me about this character and how manipulative and conniving, but also she made some points. There's this just conversation on ambition and all of these things that you're saying through Hedda. So Tessa, talk about finding her physically and emotionally, and then Nia, talk to me about what you wanted to say through her.
It was such a, I feel like there was a lot of work that was done just in preparation with Nia. It was really just a gift for me to go back and watch so many different interpretations of Hedda throughout the years, both on stage and on screen.
Which made me so nervous, by the way.
I know,
was
you didn't like it, right?
I was just worried about you. I was like, oh God, you're going to watch all these Fiona Shaw, but it was actually amazing.
Yeah, it was great. And then I had coffee with Fiona Shaw. It was so cool.
You're
But
killing me in the front row.
but I think because I knew we were making something different, I wasn't nervous to watch these other interpretations, I think. And also I felt really helped by our tremendous costume designer, Lindsay Pugh, who created these amazing costumes that were restrictive in their own way. Just at the time, that sort of boning and to just sort of be stuffed in a dress, it helped with this sensation of feeling stuffed in a life that doesn't fit too comfortably on you. And then a lot of the work actually began with both of my grandmothers, looking at photographs of them and doing a lot of exploration. I feel like they were both really women of their time in the 50s. That were really hemmed in, and I feel like a lot when I did a lot more research into my own kind of family history and looking at family photographs from that time, it felt really, really rousing, because I think that there is this way for all of us humans sometimes where to fit into our lives, to fit into our jobs, to fit into our families, we have to cut certain things off in ourselves. And sometimes it can feel like death by increments. And when I started to do some investigation into how that existed in my own family, particularly with my grandmothers, it started just to feel really personal as opposed to this kind of abstraction. I think there's always a danger, particularly with a part like Hedda Gabler, which is this very storied, epic part. Of it feeling like it's somewhere way outside of you, as opposed to beginning with what you do know, what you do understand, and then it so much just happening in collaboration. There's all this preparation that you do, but then it is about the people that you're across from. There's only so much work you can do on your own, and then suddenly you're in a room with Nina Haas, and you're making the thing with her. Or you're in a room with Tom Bateman or Imogen Poots, and it becomes about the people in the room. And we were so lucky to have rehearsal
in the location as well.
In the location, so much of it we found together in relation to each other, which is just such a great thing to be able to do, and is not always the case.
Yeah, that was actually, her rehearsals were great because we also knew we had a tight schedule. And Sean Bobbitt, my DP, who's another love of my life, we were like, we better block this and know what we're shooting when we get to the day. And these guys, again, because they're craftsmen, and they just delivered. So but Hedda as a character, to me, she's an enigma. In the way that I think we all are actually enigmas. I think, we have a lot of language, a lot of therapy speak to express who we are and ourselves. But at the end of the day, we are animals and we happen to be self-aware. We happen to have moments of rationality, not as frequently as we like to think. And I love that Hedda is someone who is that to the extreme. I said this last night, she kind of acts on every intrusive thought. She is someone who is wondering why other people don't. She's someone who's so alien from herself, and it tortures her. And and she's doing what she's supposed to be doing on the outside, but what she's doing behind the scenes is a bit reckless and cruel. But she's a searcher, the way we all are, and her way of searching leaves some damage behind. But I think she wants everyone's animal to come out, and even if the animal is ugly.
Whew, I think that is a good setup to see some of what we're talking about. If you haven't seen it, we are going to watch a clip.
Screen the entire film. No, I'm kidding.
The doors
Buckle
are
in,
locked.
you're here all afternoon. I lost the card that says what this clip is, but I believe that it is Hedda talking to the judge, played by Nicholas Pinnock, about her husband and his ambition or lack thereof. I love talking to actors about the craft and finding, like, physically, like the voice and everything. Like, when did you realize that you had Hedda, and talk to us about finding that?
It was a process. I mean, the physicality is so specific. That time is such a mannered time, and I really, the Hedda I think that we were aiming at was there's a certain kind of performance. You know, she puts on her armor for this night. This night is all about sort of presenting to society this sort of new woman that she's going to be. And I think over the course of the evening, you see that performance get undone. But I think so much of that has to do with sort of the kind of affect. And I think the time in general, the sort of, early 50s, there was a lot of internal friction, and you see that in the evening, expressed in the evening. There's sort of there's academia on one end and then the bohemians on the other end. And I think Hedda is someone who has a lot of sort of warring desires and ambitions inside of her, but I think she has a kind of performance, a shield that she puts on to the world, and I think so much of that has to do with the way that she carries herself and her voice. And it was just such a pleasure to watch. I had lots of fun listening to tons of television shows from that time and watching so many episodes of The Crown. I really wanted to go full Queen's English, but that wasn't allowed. But I had lots of fun just on the weekends being like, oh dear. Yeah, it was a joy. And it's just so fun. I mean, really, it to get to sort of play dress up. We really were on those sets all the time. And you see this difference. We sort of come in and the cast would have their Uggs on and their puffer coats and then take them off. And you just really felt this sense of transformation with everybody.
Once the shoes went on, because I remember you rehearsing in the shoes.
Yeah, I rehearsed in the shoes, and I always had a big skirt just to take up space. And yeah.
It was interesting because, call everyone to set, you do a little blocking rehearsal. And then you see Nina has her full outfit on and these adorable Uggs. She's just the best person ever. And the shoes come on and she's love bored. And you're like, oof. It's for me, on the outside of the process to a degree. So great to watch the transformation happen.
Nina Haas, brilliant. As Love Borg.
Yeah.
And she's played Hedda in the past as well.
Yeah.
Just a powerhouse. We have to wrap it up soon and get to audience questions, so everybody think of a question. I will be coming to you soon, but I do want to ask, I know you said you haven't been online, you haven't looked at any of the response so far. Everything I have heard is very positive. Just sorry to tell you that, but I know you don't want to know, but I'm telling you. But is there any hope, or do you even think like this, of what you want the reception to be to this film?
Well, I want people to like it. That's just my inner child is like me, But I guess as a filmmaker, I want people to think about their own animals, and think about their own restrictions, and especially the self-imposed ones, because so much of Hedda's struggle is her self-imposed restriction. And also, I think everyone in the movie is trying to attain agency and power. And but really what they want is to be free, and that's something I think about a lot, is like, what does freedom look like? And I think that's a question we should all ask ourselves. So yeah, I think those two things.
Tessa.
Well, funny, the thing that you said about Hedda could be a good housewife, Real Housewives. I was struck last night. I wasn't going to watch the film, and then I was going to leave, but I was sat in a place where I was worried that it would be distracting, and then my family was there and people, and so I ended up watching it. And it's the first time that I've seen it in over a year. And I was really struck by how much delight there seemed to be in the cinema, and laughter and enjoyment, and so I hope that audiences feel that way about it. I don't know that people think that necessarily when they think of Ibsen, that it's going to be like a romp, but it is, or it can be. And then I think kind of what Nia was saying, I really see, I feel very protective of Hedda because I love her very much. And I feel protective over her because I think that she's someone that very deeply, fundamentally wants to be loved. And I think wants to know that if she shows folks kind of all of her ugly bits, that she can still be loved for them. And I think that that's something that we fundamentally struggle with a lot as humans, is like this feeling that the things that we don't think are particularly savory about ourselves or particularly appealing about ourselves make us unlovable. And it prevents us, in a lot of cases, from being known by the people around us, like really, truly known. And that is like I think the biggest gift is to let somebody know you and let somebody show you that you're lovable. And so I hope that I think of her slightly aspirational that way. Even though she does.
That's a wild thing to say.
Yeah, you heard it
But
here.
it was funny. Sorry, just to jump in quickly, because every Hedda I've spoken to sees Hedda differently. So I won't say who it was, but one woman who played Hedda said, she's very kind. She's very honest. and then I saw another actress who played Hedda, and I said, oh, it's so funny. So and so said that she thought Hedda was very kind, and she goes, what? She literally stopped walking and said, what? And then but she is kind of all those things, I guess. But this is why I thought this was such a great text. It's like I'm doing something so different with it, but it's because her character has so many facets that you can shine a light through. So it's really exciting.
I'm gonna make you tell me who said she was kind.
I thought you were there. Oh, maybe it was before you got there.
Oh.
Yeah.
She is a kinder Hedda, though. That
is
one.
it? Okay, yeah.
Oh, you're not going to share with the class?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to go to the audience. We don't have mics, so you're just going to have to yell, and I'll repeat it for everybody. Also, please keep it quick. Keep it to one question. Okay? Cool. Right here in the white. Yeah, your thumbs are up. Stand. Did everybody hear that?
I can repeat
Okay.
the question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So about how I approach doing a period piece and making it feel different and what the challenges might have been. Is that accurate? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love period pieces. I love a dame movie. If it's Helen, if it's Maggie, I'm like, give me a dame. Give me a house in the countryside. Again, like everything was filtered through this character of Hedda, and she's a very modern woman. So my production designer, Kara Brower, and I talked about what her house would actually look like. So you have a very specific image in your head about what the 1950s might be or what this house could look like. But we were like, oh, well, she'd have like modern art, and she'd be playing, like avant-garde classical music and jazz music, and she'd have, hilariously, I learned that the black lacquer and animal print of the 90s came from the 50s. So we had a lot of that. There's a whole staircase in the film that's just cheetah print, which truly, I saw it and I was like, this is hideous. Keep it. And then But then also what was happening was Art Deco was having a resurgence in the 50s as well. So we have a lot of Art Deco stuff. So it was just being true to our character and the world. And every film I approach, I let the story tell me how it should be told, and I try to do it. In Sean Bob, it's similar. Like, we try to create a specific look, and there are certain things that I maybe do in every movie. There's certain grammar that I use with how I move the camera and whatnot. But yeah, it was just leading from the story and the character.
I think we have time for one more. Oh wow, this is hard. You have glasses on and a t-shirt. Yep, you.
I hope I'm not going to spill too much, but we did see a bit of it in the clip from Hedda, the breaths that kept coming through like pivotal moments throughout the movie. What was the intention behind it? What was the message that you were trying to convey with the breaths? And also, Tessa, I loved you in the Janelle Monáe Dirty Computer film. You were incredible in that.
Shout out to Dirty Computer and Janelle Monáe. Here we go. Do we?
Let's
can
do
you
another
repeat the
question because I'm not.
Oh.
I don't want to give it away, but
Okay,
I will
it's
say
too much of a
that it
spoiler,
was- yeah,
but
yeah.
I also clocked that and appreciated it. In the pink.
So my question is, could you tell us a bit more about the role of lighting, so fire, light throughout the film? It felt like a match had been lit and it kind of burns out towards the end. More lights in the middle,
Yep.
bright lights, fireworks.
Do you talk to Sean? Yes, and
a
this
good
kind of
question.
dovetails into the breaths thing, actually.
Oh, it's too spoilery.
Oh no! I'll just
Okay.
fire. Well, one, I'll just say fire is very important to the story of Hedda. And what we wanted to do was create a. We wanted it to be like fun and warm, and then as the night goes on, it gets darker and darker because the party is spiraling more and more out of control, and then the cold light of day, the next day. So no 20-minute chunk in the film really looks exactly the same, because we're also telling a story with the lighting. And similarly with the breaths, I'll give you a little bit of a. I went to Hilder and I said, I want to use breaths in the score. Let's figure out a way to integrate it so it's almost like percussion, so it's almost like a punctuation. And so everything in the score is Hedda's world, and it's how we try to express her inner life.
Okay, we have time for one more question, and I'm going to take it. Sorry. Do you have plans to collaborate again, and what is it? What can you tease for us of when we're going to see this collaboration come together again?
Yeah, we are gonna. Yes, we are. Yes, this. Yeah. The ink is not dry, but yes, I'm producing a television show. I will not be in it, but I'm producing a television show. Okay, and Nia's gonna direct it.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna say it because I'm too paranoid, and
No, we can't. But I think it'll be really fun.
But it's gonna be really.
But it'll be
great.
our first producer director, not you acting vibe.
Yeah.
Which would be fun.
Whoa. Well, we're so excited. We're so grateful for the work that you both do and that what you have given us. And that, again, as I said in the beginning, that this is just the beginning. And it is so exciting to just know that our future is bright with Nia and Tessa and your work. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
being
guys.
here.